Hi everyone, welcome back. So in my last video I shared how to integrate a Flutter module into your existing native Android codebase as a Gradle subsystem. Today I'll be sharing another way of integrating this Flutter module with your native Android project, which is integrating as the Android archive. So you will be consuming this Flutter module as any other Android archive. So what you will be doing is you will be mentioning this Android archive module name in your build.gradle, and you will be providing the repository in your settings.gradle. Let's go back to the previous setting, how things were. So we are launching a Flutter embedding activity on our button click, and Flutter embedding activity was extending a Flutter activity which we were receiving from the Flutter module using this import. Now the settings build Gradle, what we are doing is we are providing a Maven repository for Gradle to download the Flutter embedded source code, and in the rest of the code we are providing a include Flutter Groovy and applying that. So this part of the code are mainly responsible for taking the include flutter.groovy and will be applying this. So this part was responsible for integrating the Android module as a Gradle subsystem. Now if you look at the app level build Gradle, we are saying we're implementing this project Flutter. So this module was this is the way how we integrate a module source code in native Android, and this is how we integrate as a library. Yeah, so these are the libraries. Now in this new way that I'm going to show you today, we'll be integrating Flutter module as a Android archive. So this process is slightly different, but our code launching a new activity on button click, this part will stay the same. Only the glue part, which is this Gradle subsystem, and mentioning how we include in our dependency in build.gradle. So this part will be a little bit different. So before that, let's go back to our Flutter module, and we will give a command to Flutter in order to build Android archive. So Flutter build AAR, this command is responsible for building Android archive file. If you don't know what Android archive is, or if you want me to make a video, just let me know in the comments below. Yeah, okay, so it already generated this Android archive for us. Inside this build host output report should be here. Yep. So we already have this directory, repo directory with our archive artifacts, and it also provided a instruction on how we should consume this Android archive. So this part mostly looks like Groovy, but if you are using Kotlin DSL as a language in your and in native Android codebase, the syntax will be a bit different. But if you are not using that, if you are still using Groovy, that means you don't have this .kts extension, you just have build.gradle, then you can copy this code snippet that's provided here and can use it as it is. So for our code base, we are using Kotlin DSL, so we need to make slight modification on our part. So the first thing is we need to provide a repository, Maven repository for Gradle to download Flutter embedded source code. So in our previous implementation, we are already providing that, and we also were applying this include Flutter Groovy script. This part is no longer necessary because we are not integrating and Flutter module as a source code, so we can safely remove that. We have this, we keep this part, and we open this build.gradle.kts, and in this implementation part, this part will be slightly different as we are integrating as an Android archive. So we need to have this part. So we'll be specifying now the artifact ID namespace in the build.gradle. So these two part we need to copy, and if you are wondering what is the where did this ID came from, module ID com example device details Flutter module, so this came from this if you open this pubspec.yml, we have registered it here when we created this module. Yeah, if you change this ID to some other module, once you generate this build ID, artifact ID will be different. So go ahead and play around with it, and you can use any ID. Just make sure this does not clash with any existing namespace. Yep. All right, so for the sake of today's tutorial, we'll be using the artifact as it is. So let's copy this three line, paste it here, and as this as our code base is a Kotlin DSL, we need to make slight changes, but if you are using Groovy, you don't have to make this change. You can just paste and go ahead with it. So we don't need this profile implementation now, so we need to put first bracket and this inverted comma. Okay, all right, so we have mentioned this part, mentioned the artifact. Now if we sync, this should fail. Yeah, this should fail because Gradle does not know where it should download this Android archive for us. So what we need to do is we need to tell the location as a Maven repository of where this artifact is stored. Yep. So for our case, when we build these Android archive files, it was storing in our code base, and it is storing in this folder, which is build host output repo. So this command already has an output with the full path. Yeah, so we can reuse this part and we can mention it here as a URL, or we can just directly delete. Let's use the same format as we have received. No, I think we don't need this in Kotlin DSL. Let's follow the existing way. So we copy this, we delete this part, and here we delete the path. Yep. All right. Okay, now once you try to sync, Gradle should be able to find the path. Yep, it's successful. It's released. Now how do we verify it actually were able to download? So go back to the Flutter embedding activity and check the import. So yep, it's there, and we'll try to run in an emulator just to make sure this one. So emulator is booting up. Yep, it's running. So we press this button and we're supposed to see a Flutter screen. Yep, everything is working fine. Everything is working fine. Okay, all right, so our integration part is done, Now the thing is, we run this command in our code base, and the artifacts are generated in this folder. So in production app, there are ways where you can store this artifact. You can publish to your private repository, maybe private artifactory host like GitHub and other places. Maybe your company is using their own, so you can push it there and use it as it is, or you can host this folder somewhere. You copy this repo folder and host it somewhere. Then you need to update this URL, maven URL, in this settings.gradle.kts file. Just make sure the URL is correct, otherwise Gradle will fail to pull the dependencies. So if it's not able to pull the dependency, you will get compilation error. Yep. So let me know in the comments if you want to know how you can push your artifacts to GitHub, and how you can configure your Gradle system to pull from there. So I'll make a video if you guys want. Let me know in the comments. Yeah. Okay, see you. Bye.